Welcome to a space of reflection, peace, and deep spiritual clarity. If you've ever felt rejected, delayed, redirected, or broken, this is your reminder that Allah never leaves His servants lost. What you call rejection, Allah calls protection. When life slows down, it's not a denial, it's a divine delay, perfecting your journey. That closed door, it was a redirection toward your true purpose. Even what hurt you deeply was Allah saying, I have better for you. The path you didn't choose might be the very one that saves you. And yes, it broke you, but it shaped you too. These are not just reminders. They are keys to reclaim your peace, your strength, and your trust in Allah's plan. Subscribe now and join me on this journey of healing, patience, and purpose. Let's walk this path together, with hearts anchored in hope. What you call rejection, Allah calls protection. There are moments in life when the door shuts so suddenly, it feels like the ground beneath your feet has been pulled away. The job you prayed for, the relationship you held close, the opportunity you thought was finally yours, gone. And in that moment it feels personal. It feels like failure, like a punishment, like Allah has turned away. But that feeling is not the truth. The truth is deeper. The truth is softer and stronger. The truth is Allah is protecting you in ways you cannot yet understand. Sometimes the very thing you're crying for is the very thing that would have broken your heart beyond repair had you received it. Allah knows what you cannot see. He hears conversations you were never part of. He removes people you once depended on, not to leave you empty, but to protect you from hidden harm and spiritual wounds. When something slips through your fingers despite all your efforts, remember, it was never yours to begin with, and if Allah has taken it away, it is only because His mercy is wrapping around you like a shield. We ask Allah for ease, for love, for stability, and when He removes the thing we thought was our answer, we begin to doubt. We question, why me, why now? But the believer doesn't live by what is visible. The believer lives by what is certain, and that certainty is this: Allah is never careless with your heart. He never closes a door without wisdom. He never removes someone from your life without divine reason. That rejection, that heartbreak, that disappointment, it wasn't an ending. It was a beginning, a redirection, a silent, divine whisper saying, I have something better for you. Just trust me. You see, when the storm comes, it doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes the storm is sent to clear a path you never knew was blocked. Sometimes the heartbreak is the very thing that softens your soul and brings you back to sujood. Sometimes the silence after a rejection is the loudest reminder that your worth was never tied to that job, that person, or that plan. Your worth is with Allah, and He never subtracts from you unless He plans to add more, where it truly matters. Don't mourn the door that closed. Don't carry bitterness over what didn't work out. That delay, that detour, that rejection was protection. Maybe Allah protected you from arrogance. Maybe He saved you from a lifestyle that would have taken you far from Him. Maybe He protected your heart from a love that looked right on the outside, but would have emptied your soul from the inside. Allah sees further. He sees the destination, and so, in His mercy, He redirects your steps, even when it hurts. You might not see it now. You might still be holding the pieces of your plan, wondering why Allah didn't bless it. But one day, you'll look back and realize that the greatest mercy wasn't the thing you prayed for. It was the thing He took away. You'll thank Him for the unanswered dua. You'll be grateful for the no that felt like rejection but was actually divine redirection. Because had it gone your way, you may have lost your peace. You may have lost your connection to Him. You may have gained the world and lost your soul. Sometimes Allah places barriers in our path, not as punishment, but as protection. He knows how fragile your faith can become when things go too easy. He knows how easily the heart can be distracted by the dunya, so He allows discomfort to bring you back. He lets the rejection become a mirror, a moment of reflection, a time to pause and ask, where was I going and what was I chasing? That person who walked away may have been a test, not a blessing. That dream that crumbled may have saved your hereafter. That plan that shattered may have opened space for something far more aligned with your soul's purpose. Trust this: Allah never takes something from a believer except to give him something better. But better doesn't always mean easier. Sometimes better means more truthful, more eternal, more beneficial for your heart and your akhirah. Your job is not to understand every twist in the path. Your job is to trust the one who mapped it out. He knows the pain in your chest. He knows the questions you're too tired to ask anymore. He knows the nights you cried and the mornings you faked strength. And still, he is working on your behalf, silently, carefully, lovingly. The rejection wasn't a curse. It was a command from the one who loves you more than anyone else ever could. Come back to me. Let me lead you. Let go of the narrative that says you failed. Let go of the idea that something is wrong with you because a door didn't open. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being reshaped, redirected, and protected by a Lord who never makes mistakes. When you trust him deeply, you will start to see his mercy even in the no, even in the pain, even in the wait. Your soul wasn't created for disappointment. It was created for elevation. And sometimes the only way to rise is to be pulled away from what's weighing you down. That rejection you faced, it wasn't to punish you. It was to free you, to purify your intentions, to remind you that the heart can break but still believe, that the soul can ache but still trust, that when everything else slips away, Allah remains, and in him there is always light. Because what you call rejection, Allah calls protection. When Allah delays, he is not denying you. He is perfecting what you're asking for, and perfecting you to receive it. There is nothing accidental in the delay of a believer's journey. Every pause, every still moment, every unanswered dua is part of a process far more beautiful than what the eye can see. In your moments of waiting, you may feel forgotten. You may wonder if your cries are reaching beyond the ceiling. But Allah is never deaf to the whisper of a heart that trusts him. He is never late. He is never absent. His delay is not silence. It is preparation. There are times you feel like you're stuck, moving in circles, or being left behind while others seem to flourish. You compare timelines. You question your worth. You ask why your efforts haven't yet turned into results. But what you don't see is that Allah is not just preparing the outcome. He's preparing your heart to carry it. He is removing your attachment to things that would ruin your soul. He is refining your intentions, deepening your faith, stretching your patience, because the thing you're asking for is sacred, and sacred gifts aren't given until you're spiritually ready to honor them. The world teaches you to rush, but your Lord teaches you to trust. You are not falling behind, you are being aligned with the right moment, the right people, the right place. When your heart is clean, when your dua is sincere, when your soul is closer to him than it has ever been. This is not wasted time, this is your becoming, this is your unseen preparation, and in the delay, Allah is giving you something more powerful than the thing itself. He is giving you sabr, a sabr that anchors you when life shakes. A sabr that whispers, even now, my Lord is with me. You may cry and plead and beg, asking why your situation isn't changing, but sometimes the delay is a mercy protecting you from a result that would have distracted you from the akhirah. Sometimes the thing you desperately want would come too soon, and your heart wouldn't be able to handle it. Allah gives when the timing is clean, when your ego won't corrupt the gift, when your gratitude will outweigh your pride. And until then, he keeps you waiting not to hurt you, but to grow you. Imagine asking for rain, but your soil is still hard. The rain will fall, but not yet. First, the ground must soften. That's what Allah does with your soul. He softens it with waiting. He teaches you to surrender your timeline. He teaches you to trust beyond the surface, because the fruit that lasts the longest often grows the slowest, and your dua is not denied, it's just ripening. Sometimes Allah slows the journey to keep your heart alive. In hardship, your du'as become deeper. Your sujud becomes longer. Your heart becomes more aware of His presence. Would you have reached that nearness if everything came easily? Would your tongue still cry out if every door opened on the first knock? There's a purpose in the pause, a wisdom in the wait. Every delay is shaping your soul in ways that only eternity will reveal. Don't let Shaitan convince you that delay means denial. He will whisper that your prayers aren't working, that Allah is not listening. But remember what the Quran says. Indeed, Allah does not fail in His promise. The delay is not the end of the story. It is a divine chapter that cannot be skipped. The moment you stop chasing instant results and start trusting divine timing, you will feel a peace that doesn't depend on outcomes. Because the believer's success is not when the door opens. It's when the heart remains firm, even when it doesn't. In the waiting, turn to Allah with a heart full of certainty. Make dua with conviction, not desperation. Remember that every second of patience is rewarded. Every tear in sujud is counted. Every quiet whisper of Ya Allah, I trust you, is heard by the one who controls all things. He is not ignoring you. He is working on something bigger than your request. Sometimes He delays because He wants to give you not just the outcome, but the Iman to carry it well. And if you find yourself waiting longer than you expected, take heart. You are in the company of prophets. Prophet Yusuf waited years in a prison cell while innocent. Prophet Yub waited through unbearable pain. Prophet Musa wandered the desert in search of guidance. And our beloved Prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him, waited over a decade in Mecca with limited followers, mocked and rejected, before victory was revealed. Their delay was not defeat. It was a divine process. And you too are in that process. Let the delay purify you. Let it draw you closer. Let it break the parts of you that were never meant to last. Let it teach you that patience is not just waiting. It's trusting that Allah is working even when you see nothing. That silence is not neglect. It is preparation for the day your heart will say, if I had known how beautiful this ending would be, I would have waited longer without a single complaint. So breathe. Be still. Let your heart rest in the knowledge that your journey is not off track. It is divinely timed, and what is written for you will reach you when it is most blessed for you, not a moment sooner, not a second too late. Your waiting is not empty, it is full of purpose, and the one who delays is the same one who delivers beyond imagination, because when Allah delays, He is not denying. He is perfecting. Sometimes what you thought was a painful detour was actually Allah showing you your real path. The job you lost, the relationship that ended, the plan that didn't unfold the way you hoped. It may have felt like everything was falling apart, but it was really Allah redirecting you to something far more meaningful. You were not being pushed away from success. You were being guided toward purpose, and often that purpose only reveals itself once your plans are shattered, once your attachments are broken, once your soul is quiet enough to hear His whisper. We make plans and build dreams. We write our future in our minds with bold lines and bright colors. But Allah's plan is always deeper, always wiser, and it never misses. He lets you taste disappointment not to crush your spirit, but to free your heart from attachments that could never hold the weight of your real purpose. Sometimes it takes losing the version of life you thought you wanted to find the one your soul truly needed. The redirection feels harsh at first. You wonder why the door didn't open. You ask why your sincere efforts bore no fruit. You question whether you failed. But what you don't see in that moment is the trap Allah just saved you from. The burden he lifted before it could fall on you, the road he blocked because it was leading you far from your real self, far from your inner peace, far from your faith. What felt like a dead end was really a beginning, a shift toward a life that aligns with your purpose, your values, your akara. Allah removes things not to empty your life, but to make space for something better. When the Prophet Yunus was swallowed by the whale, it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a deeper connection to his Lord. When Prophet Musa had to flee Egypt in fear, it seemed like a setback, but it was the start of his real mission. When the Prophet Muhammad was driven out of Makkah, it looked like rejection, but it became the doorway to Medina, where Islam would flourish. What you see as loss, Allah sees as alignment. Your redirection is not random. It is divinely timed. Every closed door, every delay, every shift is a signpost from Allah. He is not letting you drift. He is guiding you silently, gently, precisely. Your steps may feel uncertain now, but they are leading you towards something greater, toward your real destination. And sometimes the only way to arrive there is to be pulled away from where you thought you belonged. It's easy to trust Allah when things go according to your plan, but the real test is when He tears that plan apart, when He reroutes you in a way you didn't expect, when He says no to something your heart was begging for. That's when your faith must rise. That's when your trust becomes real. Because true trust is not believing He will do what you want. It's believing He will do what is best, even when it doesn't feel good at first. You might be standing in the ruins of your old plans, wondering what went wrong. But what if nothing went wrong? What if this is exactly how it was meant to be? What if this collapse was the only way for you to rise? What if the dream that died wasn't really your dream, but a distraction from the one Allah planted in your soul long before you knew what to ask for? Your purpose isn't always loud or clear in the beginning. Sometimes it starts in the quiet pain of letting go, in the silence of waiting, in the confusion of being redirected, and in that stillness Allah begins to shape you. He begins to remove the parts of your heart that depend on this world and replaces them with a light that depends only on Him. You begin to see the world differently. You begin to pray differently. You begin to live for something more. And then one day, without even realizing it, you'll find yourself exactly where you were meant to be. Not where you planned, but where you belong. You'll look back at every delay, every disappointment, every painful redirection, and you'll whisper, Subhanallah, if I had received what I was begging for, I would have missed this. That's the mercy of Allah. He doesn't give you what you want. He gives you what your soul truly needs, and sometimes that only becomes clear after the storm has passed. Don't let the detour make you doubt your worth. Don't let the change of plans shake your trust. Allah has never lost sight of you. He has never left your side, and if He redirected your path, it is only because He saw what you couldn't see. He knows where your peace lies. He knows what your soul was created for. He knows how to bring you back to it, even if that means removing every false attachment along the way. So if you're in a season of redirection, take heart. This is not a punishment. This is not a rejection. This is divine protection. This is the unfolding of a story that was written for you long before you were born. A story that leads you not to the life you imagined, but to the life you were meant for. A life of meaning, of closeness to Allah, of real inner peace. The path may be unfamiliar, the journey may be longer than you hoped, but the destination is worth every step. Trust that what's ahead is better than what was left behind, not because it's easier, but because it's guided. Because it's real, because it's written for you by the one who knows your heart better than you know yourself, because your redirection is the beginning of your real purpose. Rejection is not the end of your story. It is not proof that you were not good enough, strong enough, or worthy. It is Allah's gentle way of saying, My beloved servant, I have something better for you. The heart may not always understand it in the moment. It may ache, it may break, but deep within that pain is a mercy you cannot see yet. Allah is not cruel. He does not take something from you without purpose. He does not close a door unless it was leading you somewhere your soul was never meant to stay. And He does not reject you. He redirects you with love. You weren't rejected because you lacked value. You were protected because that thing, that person, that path was not written for you. Allah knows the conversations you never heard. He knows the intentions behind every smile. He knows what your heart was clinging to, and He knows how that very thing may have slowly pulled you away from Him. So when it disappears from your life, when it is no longer accessible, understand this: it is not abandonment. It is divine compassion. It is a way of safeguarding your future, your peace, and your connection with your Lord. Sometimes Allah removes the very thing you prayed for, not to punish you, but because He saw the burden it would have placed on your soul. We often ask for things without knowing the full weight they carry. We beg for outcomes we are not yet prepared for, and out of His mercy, Allah says no, or not yet, or simply not this. That no can be painful. But it is not a cruel denial, it is a protective grace. It is a redirection towards something that will nourish your heart, not drain it. It's easy to misunderstand rejection. It can feel personal, it can stir doubt. But the believer doesn't measure success by worldly acceptance. The believer understands that what is written for them will never miss them, and what misses them was never meant to stay. Allah's qadr is not random. Every removal, every silence, every missed opportunity is placed with care. You may not see the wisdom now, but one day you will look back and see that the very thing you thought you needed was the thing that would have broken you. And then you will say, Alhamdulillah for the rejection. You are not defined by who or what leaves you. You are defined by your relationship with the one who remains, and Allah remains always. When you feel discarded, overlooked, or forgotten by people, know that your Creator never overlooks your tears, your efforts, or your sincerity. He sees the heartbreak you hide. He hears the duh you whisper through clenched teeth. He knows the storm within you even when you smile outwardly, and in that storm He is planting something new, something better. We often chase things that sparkle but don't sustain us. We run after doors that seem perfect but hide harm. And Allah, in His infinite mercy, blocks them. You see it as rejection, but He sees it as protection. You feel like you're falling behind, but He is actually pulling you ahead, just not in the direction you expected. This is why trust is so essential. Trust that your Lord does not withhold goodness. Trust that if He takes something away, He will replace it with something that brings you closer to Him and brings peace to your soul. There are moments when the pain is too heavy to reason through. Moments when all you can do is cry in sujood and say, Ya Allah, help me understand. And even if understanding doesn't come right away, the peace of knowing that Allah is in control, that He never wrongs His servant, will carry you through. Rejection may feel like emptiness, but in the eyes of a believer, it is space being cleared for something better to grow. Let go of what is no longer in your life. Let go of what didn't work out. Allah's mercy is not always in what He gives. Sometimes it is most powerful in what He prevents. And often, what you lose in this dunya is only a reminder to turn your heart fully back to Him. Because only He gives without measure, only He loves without condition, only He knows the future you can't see, and the goodness He is still preparing for you. Don't carry bitterness for the people or paths that walked away. Instead, thank Allah for guiding you away from what would have harmed you. What you saw as stability may have been a false shelter. What you thought was love may have been a test. What you believed was your path may have been a distraction from your greater calling. And only Allah knew, so He stepped in, He intervened, He protected you when you didn't even know you needed it. The heart that trusts Allah does not cling to rejection. It learns from it, it grows in it. It uses that moment of pain as a bridge toward greater reliance, greater love for the one who never disappoints. Even when people change, even when plans fall apart, even when you feel like everything is slipping, Allah remains. And His plan for you remains firm, so let it go, let Him guide, and trust that what He has written for you will be worth every tear you shed in waiting. Because rejection from this world is often the redirection of your soul toward its true purpose. A soul that is not meant for this dunya, but for Jannah, and everything you lose here is only shaping you for what you will gain there. Because rejection is not a sign that you were not enough, it's Allah saying, I have better for you. Sometimes the path that saves you is the one you never wanted to walk, the one that made no sense in the beginning, the one that came after loss, after heartbreak, after everything you thought was meant for you slipped away. It's hard to accept that the plans you made with pure intentions, the people you prayed for with sincerity, the dreams you carried with hope, were never meant to stay, but Allah, in His mercy, sees further. And He removes, redirects, and rewrites, not to punish you, but to protect your soul from what you can't see. We often fight to hold on to things Allah is trying to remove. We plead for what is leaving. We cling to people who are only meant to be part of the journey, not the destination. And in our grief, we forget that Allah never allows something to leave unless it is making space for something better. Not always better in the way we define it, but better for our faith, our peace, and our closeness to Him. There are times when you'll feel like everything is slipping through your fingers, plans crumble, relationships end, stability disappears, and it feels like failure. But what if the very thing you're calling failure is actually the first step toward your real healing? What if that closed door is the only thing standing between you and the version of yourself that Allah is calling you to become? You may have thought you had it all figured out. You may have prayed for that path, worked for it, waited for it. And when it fell apart, you wondered if your prayers were in vain. But the path of a believer is not about convenience. It's about trust. Trust that even when you lose what you thought was good, Allah is giving you what is best. Not everything painful is bad. Sometimes the most painful seasons are the most sacred. Allah says in the Quran, but perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you, and Allah knows while you know not. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. This verse is not just a reminder, it is a lifeline, a divine truth that your heart must hold on to when everything feels confusing. You don't always have to understand the path, you just have to trust the one who designed it. There is a softness in surrender, a peace in letting go of the battle to control your story. When you release what was never truly yours, you create space for what Allah has always written for you. You may think you need something to survive, but Allah is teaching you that your survival comes from Him alone. Your joy, your safety, your strength, they are not in people or plans, they are in His presence. Sometimes it takes walking away from everything familiar to find out who you are in the eyes of your Creator. Sometimes the path you didn't choose is the one that finally breaks your pride, removes your distractions, and forces you to turn back to Allah with sincerity. And that return, no matter how painful its path, is worth more than any success in this world. Because the heart that remembers Allah in ease is blessed, but the heart that finds Him through pain is transformed. You are not lost, you are being rerouted. You are not abandoned, you are being refined. That path you didn't want, that job you didn't get, that person you couldn't keep, that life that slipped through your hands, It might be the very thing that leads you to sujood in the middle of the night, to tears that purify your heart, to du'as that come from the depths of sincerity, and in those moments you will realize that you didn't lose, you were saved. Allah does not allow hardship without purpose. He does not allow redirection without wisdom. The storm that came into your life was not chaos. It was clarity. It stripped away what was false. It revealed what was temporary. And it brought your heart back to the one who never changes. This is the path of real peace, not the one that always feels good, but the one that leads you closer to Allah. Don't fear the unknown. Don't mourn the story that didn't unfold the way you imagined. Sometimes Allah breaks your heart to rebuild your soul. Sometimes He removes your plan to show you how much better His is. And sometimes He lets you walk the path you didn't choose because He knows it's the only way to your salvation. Even if you are in a place you never imagined being, even if nothing around you makes sense, know that Allah is still guiding you. He never leaves His servant, even in confusion, even in waiting, even in heartbreak. He is near, and the heart that believes that is never truly shaken. It may ache, yes. It may cry, yes. But it is never destroyed. Keep walking, keep praying, keep trusting. Don't let temporary pain make you forget eternal truth. This world is not the end, it's the test. And the path you walk now may be steep, unfamiliar, and full of struggle. But if it brings you closer to Allah, then it is the right path, even if it's not the one you would have chosen. The one who places their trust in Allah will never be disappointed, not because life becomes perfect, but because the heart becomes anchored in something far deeper than results. It becomes anchored in the one who never makes mistakes, the one who removes what is wrong, even if you loved it, the one who gives what is right, even if you didn't ask for it, the one who sees what you cannot and loves you enough to guide you gently, firmly, perfectly. Because the path you didn't choose might be the one that saves you, let go of the pain, hold on to the wisdom. There are moments in life when the pain cuts so deep, you begin to question everything. The plan, the prayer, the purpose. You wonder why it had to happen that way, why the very thing you trusted would lift you ended up breaking you. But even in that breaking, there was something sacred unfolding, something eternal. What you thought was rejection was actually refinement. What you thought was loss was actually light being poured into the cracks of your soul. Yes, it hurt, but pain isn't meaningless when Allah is guiding the healing. He doesn't let pain touch a believer without purpose. You may have cried until you had no more tears. You may have fallen to the ground, not knowing how to get back up. But in that place of surrender, you found something priceless. Closeness to the one who never leaves, even when the whole world walks away. The trial that broke you didn't break your spirit. It awakened it. It showed you what really matters. It removed what was false. It taught you how to kneel again, not out of habit, but out of true need. Allah doesn't waste your suffering. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every unanswered dua was shaping you. Not punishing you, shaping you, making you softer in your character and stronger in your faith. Teaching you to stop placing your happiness in things that come and go, and instead place it in the one who remains. You learned that no matter how tightly you held on to something, if it wasn't written for you, it would never stay. And that's when the wisdom came. That's when the pain transformed into perspective. We often think growth comes from victory, but the deepest growth comes from loss. The kind of loss that strips you of every illusion. The kind of loss that leaves you face to face with yourself and with your Creator. That's where real strength is born. That's where the soul begins to rise. Not in the comfort of answered prayers, but in the storm of divine redirection. And Allah, in His mercy, doesn't just watch you in those moments. He carries you through them. He holds your heart when you can't. He calms your thoughts when they won't rest. He brings a peace that doesn't make sense to the world, but feels like home to the believer. The Prophet went through pain deeper than we can imagine. He lost loved ones, faced rejection, lived through trials that would crush most hearts. And yet, he never complained about Allah. He never lost hope, because he knew that pain in this life is never wasted in the next. Every tear, every test, every heartbreak that's endured with patience becomes a means of elevation with Allah. You are not being forgotten. You are being remembered. You are not being punished. You are being prepared for something greater than you can see now. Let go of the pain, but not the lessons it left behind. Let go of the bitterness, but not the strength it revealed in you. Let go of the blame, but hold on to the remembrance that Allah is always just. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when the wound is fresh, He is just. He is merciful, He is near, and He is never wrong in what He allows. Sometimes He breaks your heart so that it never worships anything other than Him again. You may have lost someone. You may have watched your dreams dissolve. You may have stood in the middle of a life you no longer recognized, but even in that chaos there was clarity. Even in that loss there was life. You are not who you were before the pain, and that's a sign of mercy. Because Allah didn't just change your situation. He changed you. He made you see with eyes that are no longer fooled by appearances. He made you feel with a heart that is no longer led by emotion alone. He taught you to pray from a depth you didn't even know existed within you. What you experienced shaped your soul. It humbled your ego. It drew you to your knees, not in defeat, but in devotion. And that's what real healing is. Not forgetting what happened, but remembering it with peace, with wisdom, with the quiet understanding that this was part of your path, that nothing happened without reason, that even the worst days were written to bring you closer to your best self. The version of you that lives with patience, that walks with trust, that stands tall not because everything is perfect, but because your heart is anchored in the one who is. Hold on to the wisdom, hold on to the insight that pain gave you. The awareness it planted, the clarity it brought. Because one day, someone else will be where you are now confused, hurt, lost. And you will be the one who reminds them, I've been there, and I survived. Because Allah never abandoned me, and He will never abandon you. This is how your suffering becomes service. This is how your trials turn into light for someone else's path. And this is how Allah honors you, not by sparing you from pain, but by raising you through it. You have come through so much. You've survived what you thought would destroy you. You've stood again after falling more times than you can count. And that's not a small thing. That is Allah's mercy walking with you. That is your faith, even if weak and trembling, still alive, still breathing, still calling His name, and that is enough. Because the believer doesn't need a perfect life. They need a heart that keeps turning back to Allah, no matter how many times it breaks. Let the pain go. Let it leave your heart, not in denial, but in gratitude, and hold on to the wisdom, because that wisdom is a gift that came through loss, a gift that made you who you are, and a gift that will guide you again and again back to the one who never left you. Because yes, it hurt, but you learned, and yes, it broke you, but you grew. May Allah ease your heart, guide your steps, and bless your patience. Until next time, stay strong, stay hopeful, and always trust Allah.